Welcome to X-Fi, an experimental philosophy channel from Carneades.org. Today we are going to look at Twitter's views on the Analytic Continental debate. Now, the debate between Analytic and Continental philosophy has raged for decades, but did you ever wonder who was winning? Would Russell or Hegel get more retweets? What words or concepts do the denizens of Twitter associate with each tradition? In this video, we look at Twitter's perspectives of Analytic and Continental philosophy to see if we can glean any sense of which philosophical tradition the Twitterverse is more amenable to. If you need background on the Analytic-Continental divide, check out this great video from Carneades.org. Now, before digging into the results, here's a quick primer on how we are doing this. The first step in the process is to gather the data. This is done by scraping every tweet from the last 10 years that featured the exact phrase analytic philosophy or continental philosophy, and then splitting those into two datasets. Next, we run some automated text analysis on these data. Specifically, in this case, we're doing a basic dictionary sentiment analysis, identifying the words in the tweets with emotional content. These words are divided into negative emotions and positive emotions, and words are also coded with any of a number of 8 specific emotions: anger, disgust, fear, sadness, anticipation, surprise, joy, and trust. The dictionary we're using is the NRC Emotion Lexicon, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. So with that, let's take a look at the results. So the Power BI visualization here showcases the results of these analyses. As you can see, Analytic and Continental philosophy have gotten about the same amount of tweets for many years, with Analytic philosophy having a few outliers here or there where they spike up, and Continental philosophy having a couple of spots as well. That said, Analytic philosophy, particularly starting around 2020, has started to outpace Continental philosophy in terms of sheer number of tweets, though Continental philosophy was doing a little bit better than Analytic philosophy back in the early days of this analysis, at least. These other graphs show the average number of likes that a tweet gets if it has the words Analytic philosophy or Continental philosophy in it, the average number of times those tweets are quoted, and the average number of times they're retweeted. And as these show, once again, in the last 2 years or so, it seems like Analytic philosophy is doing a bit better than Continental philosophy, getting almost twice or 3 times in some cases as many likes as tweets that contain the words Continental philosophy, and getting more retweets on average than tweets that contain Continental philosophy. That said, it does look like, for at least 2017 and 2018, tweets containing the words Continental philosophy were more likely to be quoted. However, these results don't really tell us what people think about Analytic philosophy or Continental philosophy. They just tell us how much they're talking about them. Someone could be saying all of these horrible things about Analytic philosophy and it getting a lot of likes. So in order to check that, we're going to do a bit of sentiment analysis. Check out our video on automated text analysis and sentiment analysis for more on exactly what's going on here. But this is a sentiment analysis now of those same tweets. So by philosophical tradition, we see that these are almost perfectly even going across time for the last 10 years. Continental philosophy had a much more positive reception in the beginning, and Analytic philosophy has had a few spikes of positive reception, but overall it's stayed pretty much the same. This is an average of the net amount of positive words in a tweet. It is also important to note that this is above 0. So on average, people do have a positive view of both Analytic philosophy and Continental philosophy, at least more positive than negative. In terms of specific emotions, these are almost perfectly identical. We can see some slight differences. It looks like Analytic philosophy inspires slightly more anger than Continental philosophy does, while Continental philosophy inspires more fear than Analytic philosophy does. But for the most part, these are almost perfectly identical. The word clouds, on the other hand, which are picking up the most commonly tweeted words about Analytic and Continental philosophy, show something very different. We have some clear differences going on here. So the Analytic philosophy cloud has things like logic, history, thinking, scholasticism as some of the biggest words. Whereas the Continental Philosophy cloud has things like reading, contemporary, and specific philosophers in here as well. So these are very different word clouds telling very different stories. It's also interesting to note that words like science and religion appear in both word clouds, but are much bigger in the science is much bigger in the analytic philosophy one, while religion is much bigger in the continental philosophy word cloud. This visualization is helpful, and you can find this visualization on carneades.org. Because you can click on individual years and get a sense of what was happening. So if we want to know why did analytic philosophy have this really positive peak here in the middle of 2018 or early 2018, we can see the words that are associated with it. We have things like propositional logic, logic, form, semiotics, knowledge. These are words that are commonly associated with analytic philosophy, and someone was tweeting about, or a number of people were tweeting about, propositional logic, and they were tweeting very positive things that got a positive reception throughout the Twitterverse. Whereas if we go back to other peaks, we can see what was going on. For example, continental philosophy had a dip here in its positivity rating. We had things like perspectives, contemporary, Blackwell, obscurity, Foucault, that were some of the top words that were used when we had this dip in 2015. So, overall, with our conclusions, while it does seem like in the last few years, analytic philosophy has gotten more tweets and more buzz on Twitter than continental philosophy does, that doesn't seem to be because people are happier with analytic philosophy, because they're expressing more positive emotions towards it, as those are holding steady. It just is that it's getting more buzz and more talking about, both positive and negative. If you're curious more about this, I'll leave a link to, there's a blog on the website, carneades.org, that has this visualization. You can go through and play with it, sort it, filter the data yourself to learn more, and let me know in the comments what conclusions you find. Watch this video and more here on XFi, where we're doing experimental, cutting-edge philosophy. And if you want to learn more about philosophy, as always, check out carneades.org. Because this is a new channel and we're testing things out, please do give me feedback in the comments. We're going to read through them very extensively and try to get a sense of what people are interested in and if this is something that people are even interested in at all. So let us know, and also let us know if there's new experimental philosophy topics you want us to tackle. If there's something specific you want us to search for or look for on Twitter. We've done analytic versus continental philosophy, but are there other positions you'd like us to compare? And as always, stay skeptical, everybody.